Hi, friends. I'm Andy Paul, host of Selling with Purpose, and I want to encourage you to join the tens of thousands of listeners who tune in each week to the Sales Enablement Podcast with Andy Paul. With more than 780 episodes to date of candid conversations with the world's most exciting revenue leaders, the Sales Enablement Podcast explores critical insights, skills, and technologies that enable sales performance. So tune in to hear inspiring conversations I have with the world's best and brightest sales experts, such as Dan Pink, Keenan, Tiffany Bova, Jeb Blunt, Jeffrey Gittimer, and so many more. Each week we publish 3 new episodes, all part of my mission to enable you to exceed customer expectations and win more deals. So be sure to subscribe to Sales Enablement with Andy Paul on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. No matter where your sales team is working from, RingDNA can enable them to be more productive and effective. RingDNA offers a complete platform for remote sales teams that gives reps the tools they need to connect with more prospects and create more opportunities and drive more revenue no matter where they're working from. And managers can get real-time insight they need to coach reps to success. Win more deals from anywhere on the planet with RingDNA. Learn more about how RingDNA helps remote teams at ringdna.com/remote work. That's ringdna.com/remote work.
New alarm bells ringing tonight on the coronavirus outbreak in this country.
Doctors say the virus is spread through droplets when someone coughs or sneezes.
And I think the business community, it's in their interest that people actually stay home and stop the spread.
For a business that can allow more employees to telecommute, we want you to do that.
In these times, what does it mean to sell with purpose? How can you bring intention to every sales conversation, no matter what you're selling? What if success doesn't mean just one more closed sale, but one more life saved? Hi, friends. I'm Andy Paul, host of the Sales Enablement Podcast, and this is Selling with Purpose, a special 6-part series of inspiring conversations exploring what it means to sell with a mission greater than just hitting your numbers in the era of COVID-19 and beyond. Tune in to hear from world-class enterprise sales leaders and learn how their 6 companies will close $50 billion selling remotely. See how they've supported essential workers with the products and services they need to stay safe and thrive during this time of crisis. A special thank you to our guests and their incredible companies, Sodexo, Henry Schein, Gordon Food Services, NFP, Stanley Security, and CDK for allowing us to share their stories. All right, let's get into it. Kyle Gordon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate being on.
Well, it's a pleasure having you. So, where are you sheltering in place these days?
Downtown Boston for about, about 7 weeks, I would say. But I'm also, I'm a new father, so we were doing.
Congratulations!
Thank you. So we were doing the maternity leave, the paternity leave, all of that. So for someone who travels every week, 2020 has been an interesting year for me thus far.
Well, I mean, in one respect, I guess the timing of this thing has worked out because you're off the road. You have a chance to spend this intense time with your son or daughter. I'm sorry.
Son. Very, okay. Very cool. I never thought I'd be able to, the first almost 3 months now, I've missed a grand total of 1 day. So very, very thankful in that regard for sure.
That's amazing. Yeah, I just remember when my first child was born, was the same time I got promoted to take over international global sales for a company. And so 2 weeks later, I was off to Asia. So it's like, yeah, that was not ideal. All right. Well, so tell us what you do. You're Vice President of Sales Marketing for Stanley Security.
Yeah, so lead sales and did lead marketing. Call a heavy influencer with our marketing group. But yeah, lead the entire North American sales team, field sales team for our Stanley Security, which is a division of Stanley Black & Decker.
Right. And how big of a field sales team do you have?
Call it all in a little over 300. So about roughly 35 managers, a few directors, and then 275 field sales representatives.
Wow. And they are calling on end users, or do you also work through channels?
End users. So it's we have a direct model. So we're going directly to our end users, and we're in our industry we're known as an integrator, which is another way of saying a reseller. So for the most part, and there is a caveat, but for the most part, we don't make what we sell. We resell others, and we're a channel partner for other technology providers.
Okay, so dealing with the end users, but you have over 200 people in the field who are now working from home. So talk about that transition for you.
We have an outside inside sales team. Yeah, we've got. It's been, let's call it, the most challenging and most rewarding experience of my professional career to date. We do. We have guys and gals who get up every day and they're on the road to an end user's location. This is pre-COVID, obviously, on safety and security measures that they should be looking at implementing within their business. It's a very hands-on relationship. There's a lot of trust that goes into selling in this space, and you can very quickly lose credibility if you don't do it by building relationships. And
Exactly.
Obviously, face-to-face conversations, a lot of them are paramount to, or kind of the bedrock, if you will, or the foundation to relationships. So taking that dynamic out almost entirely over the last couple months has certainly presented us with some, let's call them, opportunities for growth.
Well, and starting with you, right? I imagine, because you're having to reorient completely your worldview of how you manage and develop your team.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I'm a big proponent of face-to-face training, personal development, role playing, and just honestly team building. Just put all of the um, put all of call it the normal processes aside, and you just talk about having a team dinner or a beer, and being able to relate to someone. There's when you're able to build that trust with internally. I've found in my career that what you will get out of a person when they know that you're invested in them is so much more. So certainly building those relationships remotely requires a lot more effort, a lot more diligence, and you really have to set yourself up for reminders, because those things you almost in the past would do on your own while, quote, running the business. Now you have all these run the business calls, and you have to still make sure that you're doing the little things that enable you to be a servant leader and to inspire others. So yeah, very, very interesting challenge for leaders.
Yeah. So let's talk about starting with your reps then. And so, as you said, they were out every day in the field, meeting face to face with clients. You've got these offices, I noticed, throughout the country. So, what are they doing now from a new business development standpoint? Because we're going to get into a second how they're supporting existing customers. But so, how are they adapting to being an inside salesperson?
Yeah, so I think if you look at sort of what we've built as pillars to our, call it, transformation, you've got to break it down into a couple different things. One is if you look at how, for instance, adept we are at social selling, social prospecting, leveraging things like LinkedIn InMail as opposed to maybe a standard email, or having a Zoom call with face-to-face interaction as opposed to maybe a conference call, because body language is critical to establishing trust and being able to convey a message. So as we kind of looked at what their days are now versus what they were, let's say, in the beginning of January, our leadership team was very active in uh, building a course curriculum from a remote selling standpoint. So things as simple as how to effectively use Zoom, how to create a background on Zoom if you want to do that. I mean, I think it's important to note that in my industry, I've got I kind of have a wide range of sales consultants out there. Some who are early tenure, but a good portion who have been doing this for a long time, and they've never had to really necessarily build out their LinkedIn profile or understand really how to leverage it. They've never had to host Zoom calls, and even if they were joining Zoom calls in the past, they might just dial in while they're on the road on their way to another customer appointment. So understanding and allowing for vulnerability, especially with the sales population, because as we all know, Andy, that salespeople tend to be prideful. As a leader, having our sales managers also kind of come alongside and say, "Hey, I really struggled with this, but this is what helped me." So I think there's that internal training, which a lot of this right now is tough to sort of change your routine. I mean, salespeople are creatures of habit. I've got folks, myself included, who have been doing nearly the same thing every day for years, if not decades. And all of a sudden, we have asked them in the course of a week or sometimes less to fundamentally change how they operate. So obviously, making sure that they feel comfortable with the tools and the technology, making sure that we overcome the victim mentality as quickly as possible. That was the first thing that set in. Was we had a lot of people who at first were challenged around what they would do because it's so different. So getting over the mentality, that's a lot of internal coaching. And then fundamentally, how do you live in a remote selling world? And we brought in just some people from our marketing team to talk about. We brought in some partners to kind of talk about best practices. And so, yeah, it's been interesting. I will say, Andy, we're fortunate to work in an industry where what we do is valued now more than ever. So I think that's helped, right? When you think about safety and security, and you think about visitor management or access control now more than ever, companies want to know who's in their building, why they're in their building, when they came in, who they talked to, for obvious reasons. That helps a little bit because we have very timely and topical messages to convey, but it's still a bunch of people trying to figure it out.
So on the Stanley Black & Decker website, and which they say, and this is our quote, a $14 billion revenue, purpose-driven industrial organization. So what is that purpose?
It's so at Stanley Black & Decker, we did a purpose project, and it must have been 3 years ago now. And our during the project, Jim Laree said, we really just took at that time it was 175 years of purpose and excavated it. You didn't want to imply that we haven't been living our purpose for as long as we've been in business, but to his credit, we hadn't necessarily articulated it or been able to speak to it. And so for Stanley Black & Decker, it's for those who make the world. And then every one of Stanley Black & Decker's businesses take that for those who make the world, and then they add on. So for at Stanley Security, we're for those who make the world progress. So, as we sort of look at what we do in our business, it's not only safety, it's not only security, it's taking this data that we have, and these end users who have really interesting roles, right? We in the security world, you're ranging from first responders to IT, taking all of this data and making it usable. I know that's a super cliche. You can basically say that statement for anything that anyone does. So it's an opportunity for us to help organizations run more efficiently, run more safely, and really, it's something that we're especially proud of. And right now, more than ever, especially within the security business, where we have a healthcare business, we have an access technologies business, and we have our security business. Um, Many of our customers are the heroes that you're hearing about every day on the news. And so for us to be able to empower them to make real-time decisions about the well-being of their employees, of their staff, of their community, broader community that they serve, it's a really rewarding time. And so I'm so thankful that we took the time a couple of years ago to define our purpose, because it's something that the sales team and the organization in general has found a way to rally around during this time. I was talking the other day on a council call, and we were talking about sort of, everyone's talking about it now, right? The new norm, and how do you operate in the new norm? And one of the things that I shared with the group there was, it needs to be more than metrics right now. I think in a normal world, we're always looking for a little bit more inspiration, but you can get by knowing kind of where you're at to quota, and then working out, going for a run, seeing your family, things like that. When you're cooped up, and I know, Andy, you can appreciate this too, when you're cooped up in an apartment and really have to social distance, you've got to feel that your efforts are driving a more aspirational purpose, right? Hitting a quota or closing sales, but what you're actually doing is contributing to the greater good.
Guided selling from Ring DNA makes your entire sales team more effective by revealing exactly what reps should do and when to do it. Guided selling works by transforming sales data into a curated list of prioritized sales actions. So when reps start their day, they'll never again wonder which prospects and accounts or hot inbound leads to reach out to next. Guided selling even shifts reps' priority in response to real-time buying signals. Finally, even new reps can sell like seasoned ones. Let RingDNA be your guide to success. Learn more at ringdna.com/guided selling. That's ringdna.com/guided selling. Hi, friends. I'm Andy Paul, host of Selling with Purpose, and I want to encourage you to join the tens of thousands of listeners who tune in each week to the Sales Enablement Podcast with Andy Paul. With more than 780 episodes to date of candid conversations with the world's most exciting revenue leaders, the Sales Enablement Podcast explores critical insights, skills, and technologies that enable sales performance. So tune in to hear inspiring conversations I have with the world's best and brightest sales experts, such as Dan Pink, Keenan, Tiffany Bova, Jeb Blunt, Jeffrey Gittimer, and so many more. Each week we publish 3 new episodes, all part of my mission to enable you to exceed customer expectations and win more deals. So be sure to subscribe to Sales Enablement with Andy Paul on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
One of the things, and feel free to cut me off, Andy, because I'm a rambler.
Well, I do have a question. Is so, do you find that this purpose, is giving, intrinsic motivation to your team at this point in time? That they're feeling stressed. They're, doing a 180-degree difference in their daily work routine in terms of interacting with their clients. But are they finding this sense of purpose, animating their efforts?
I like to think so. I mean, I certainly am, and I know that my leadership team certainly is. It's hard to really bifurcate what we do on a daily basis and who we're serving, and not feel a certain sense of obligation and responsibility, from police departments and fire departments to healthcare providers to, frankly, our technicians, right? So our technicians, our call center operators, they're essential workers, and they're going on site to fix emergency service calls with regards to a door being down, or in a call center, they're there for a break-in, and they're physically showing up every day. And there's just, I know from walking around Boston, just right now, going outside and walking around, you live with a little bit more anxiety. So, understanding that there's people who if the worst you have it is you got to work from home and you've got to do Zoom calls, which I remind our team all the time, then you've got it pretty good, Andy. And I think our team has thrived a little bit off that.
Yeah, and I think that too. As I was looking at the variety of customers you serve, and just to your point about going outside, and in my case, walking through Manhattan, which is empty these days, eerily empty, it's just small business after small business after small business that is just shut down. But I
Right.
imagine a good number of those are doing monitored security systems. I mean, the business owner has to be concerned about this
Yeah.
facility standing open or standing
Yeah.
empty, and what's happened.
So what we did to address that specifically, Andy, I think in general, was the first thing we did, and I was so thankful to have a really good marketing team who was able to put some good stuff out there quickly. But the first thing we did when we kind of had a feeling that this was going to be something that was going to take us weeks, if not months, which we're now finding out on the 30th of April that it's months, was put out as much content as possible around things that businesses could do that will cost them little to nothing that they can do themselves to secure their properties. So we put out a whole blog series and invited our frankly our competitors as well as peers and industry folks to join in the conversation just around best practices. So if you think about going through and unplugging your electrical devices, taking valuable confidential information off site, scheduling delivery times for your staff so that they can come in and come out to pick things up without bumping in another staff member, to make sure that you're ensuring social distancing, turning off your guest Wi-Fi, right? It's documented right now, unfortunately, that cyber attacks are significantly up. So, we quickly just brought a bunch of people together, a lot of our engineers, our product people, as well as some of our field folks, and said, hey, what are some best practices that anyone can do right now to ensure that if they're modifying their work hours or if they have to actually walk away from their premise, what are some best practices that they can do that aren't going to cost them money, that aren't going to drive them to a Stanley solution, right? We just wanted to get a lot of really good information out. So it's a little thing, and it is, but it was something we felt like we could do immediately. That hopefully, if just one business owner saw, or one security director or safety director saw, maybe it helped them while they're away.
So a question for you is just a couple minutes we have left, is so how do you see, so you've been this intense field sales organization, right? So in sales in general, we've seen over the last 10 years the growth of inside sales. We've certainly seen a lot of hybrid sales models. Yours is one that's pretty intensely field oriented necessarily. What do you think it's going to be like as we come back to whatever I don't want to call it the new normal, I like to call it the next normal.
I like that.
When we get to that next normal, what is that going to be for you, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a hybrid. So I don't think we can underestimate, and I started the conversation with this, I don't think you can underestimate the value of personal relationships. Personal relationships are built quite often with face-to-face interaction, but we certainly have seen a lot of benefits to the remote selling environment. A couple of things that it's really positioned us to do is look at our remote offerings. There's a lot of things, and I'm sure every industry is finding this out, Andy, but there's a lot of things that we used to do face to face just because we've always done it that way. A lot of services, a lot of tools, a lot of maintenance items that with technology these days and the right tools, you can actually absolutely do that remotely. It's more efficient and effective for the customer, and it's more efficient and effective for us. So I think we'll see increased remote selling, whether that's a dedicated team or if that may just be that the team in general. That could be another portion of their skill set that they didn't have prior to this. So the next normal definitely going to be different, significantly different, in my opinion. I think we've learned a ton, and I'm, once we overcome this crisis, I'm excited for the skills that our sales team and the customers, customers have had to adapt as well, right? I'm excited for what that dynamic looks like.
And last question for you. So if you had to say, okay, a year from now or 2 years from now, whenever we're at that next normal, and your customers look back, how are they going to remember their interactions with your sales team during this time?
I hope they remember them to be genuine. So that's the one thing that we've implored our sales teams to operate with, because of the industry that we work in. There are absolutely some alarmist tendencies that you see out there, and we spend a lot of time walking our team through the role we play, and it's something that when you're in it, right? When you're in a role defining period, and we're in one right now. And so how you act within the moment of crisis, I think, is what defines you as a human. And so what we've asked our team to do is to offer help as much as possible, because what we do absolutely helps our customers navigate this, but do it purely from a place of selflessness. And that's a really tough balance to strike with a sales organization. Your job at the end of the day is to drive orders, but understanding, I think, that if you genuinely build trust right now with the market, and you deliver really good content that's just helpful to people, the sales will come. Right, the sales will come when this thing clears, and people will see you for what you are, which is hopefully an organization that operates with integrity. And so that's what I guess, in a long drawn out way, that's what I hope we're remembered as right now, is an organization that approach customers with a human first mentality.
All right. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
LinkedIn's probably easiest, just Kyle Gordon. I'm not too active on the socials besides that, due to the fact that there's a newborn and a sales team to run.
And what's your son's name?
Grayson.
Grayson. Oh, great name. Love it.
Grayson Gordon. I got to give a shout out to the real boss, Eliza, my wife, who's doing all the hard work.
All right. Yeah. With everybody cooped up. Absolutely. All right. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
RingDNA is the leading sales enablement platform that uses AI to help scale business growth. Trusted by the top companies across the globe, RingDNA offers a suite of powerful tools for every sales role. The RingDNA Dialer radically improves sales productivity and call connection rates, while guided selling helps reps know exactly what to do and when to do it. Conversation AI uses artificial intelligence to surface the most impactful coaching opportunities in real time. So, no matter where your team is working from, the RingDNA platform can help them exponentially increase call connections, opportunities, and revenue. Learn more at ringdna.com/platform. That's ringdna.com/platform.